Most people think a stocked pantry means they're ready for anything, but there are 12 specific foods that will actually determine whether your kitchen keeps working when everything outside it stops. Not all of them are expensive, not all of them come in survival packaging, but each one solves a problem that most people never think about until it's too late. Protein without refrigeration, meals with almost no water, food that works when you can't cook in multiple steps. Here's the thing. A pantry full of food is not the same as a pantry that's prepared. You might have dozens of cans and several bags of dry goods, but if everything on those shelves needs long cook times, large amounts of water, or safe cold storage once it's opened, that quantity starts to fall apart fast. When the power goes out and water has to be stretched and your backup fuel is running low, the most useful item isn't necessarily the one you bought the most of. And by the time you figure out what's actually missing, your last chance to get it may already be gone. Let's go through all 12. Number 12 is canned fish, and it matters more than most people expect. Picture the first few hours after a power outage. The kitchen looks completely normal. The fridge is still cold. The freezer still feels solid. The meat and fish sitting in there for the week are all still there, but a timer has already started. A closed refrigerator gives you roughly 4 hours before the safety of perishable food starts becoming questionable. The freezer gives you more runway, but it isn't unlimited. Meanwhile, a sealed can of fish on your pantry shelf is sitting completely outside that countdown. That's the actual value here. Shelf-stable protein that requires no thawing, no cooking, and no electricity. But tuna, salmon, sardines, and pouches don't all do the same job, so it's worth understanding each one. Tuna is your fast meal option. Crackers, canned beans, cold noodles. It works quickly and pairs with almost anything. Salmon feels more like a centerpiece. Pair it with rice or mashed potatoes, and it becomes the foundation of a real meal. Sardines bring protein and fat together, and varieties that include soft edible bones also provide calcium in a format that's easy to overlook in a crisis. Pouches solve a completely different problem. They're light, compact, usually single serving, and many open without tools. When refrigeration is gone and you're rationing, a portion you can actually finish matters more than the cheapest price per ounce on a large can you'll have to throw half away. Storage is simple, but the mistakes are easy to make. Keep canned fish cool, dry, and away from heat sources. Don't stack an entire case next to your stove or leave it in a hot garage because there was space. Inspect everything before use. Swollen cans, heavy rust, deep dents along a seam, punctured pouches, anything that looks wrong gets discarded. Don't taste a questionable product to decide. The risk isn't worth it. And before you buy in bulk, buy one can first. Eat it at room temperature. Check the texture, the saltiness, how far it actually goes. Then build your supply deliberately. Tuna for quick meals, salmon for main courses, sardines for nutritional range, small pouches for when you might need to move. Number 11 is canned chicken, and its real value is how many directions it can go. A can of chicken sitting alone on a table doesn't make much of a meal, but next to rice, noodles, beans, or mashed potatoes, it suddenly creates options. Drain it, shred it, and that same can move in 4 different directions. Mix it into seasoned rice, stir it into soup or noodles, spoon it over mashed potatoes, combine it with beans to make protein stretch further. Its flavor is neutral enough to adapt to what's left in the pantry rather than demanding you build around it. In a situation where ingredients are running low, flexible food is often worth more than food that only works one way. But there's one number on the label most people completely ignore: drained weight. Net weight includes the liquid in the can. 2 cans that look identical on the outside might deliver very different amounts of actual meat once you open them. Check the drained weight before you decide what to stock. As a reference point, 1 serving of a common canned chicken breast product delivers roughly 3 ounces of drained meat, along with about 15 grams of protein. Look at that number, not the total can size. Can size also affects your planning. If safe refrigeration isn't available and you're cooking for one, a smaller can that gets finished in one meal is smarter than a large can with leftovers you can't keep. Once it's open, it's no longer shelf-stable. Before stocking up, try 1 or 2 cans first. Drain them, see what you actually get. Test them with the meals your family already eats. A product no one wants to eat isn't worth.
Number 10 is canned beans, and the case for them isn't really about price. A bag of dried beans looks like the economical choice. It's light, cheap, and produces a large number of servings. But put that bag of dried beans in a kitchen with one propane tank, a few gallons of drinking water, and no clear timeline for when things return to normal. The math changes. Dried beans require soaking time, significant amounts of water, and sustained heat before they become edible. When every gallon of water is being counted and every minute the stove runs costs you backup fuel, the cheapest item on the label isn't necessarily the cheapest item to actually use. Canned beans fill that gap in a way that dried beans simply can't. Most commercial products are fully cooked before canning. You open it, drain it, and it's ready. You can eat it cold, heat it quickly, or add it directly to something already cooking. Dried beans save money. Canned beans save time, water, and fuel. In a real emergency, those three things have a cost too. Mix beans with rice to make a filling base. Add them to soup or chili to build volume. Combine a small amount with canned chicken to stretch protein across more servings. One detail worth reading carefully is the sodium content. Under normal circumstances, many people rinse canned beans under running water, but if clean water is being measured out by the gallon, do you want to spend more of it rinsing one can of beans? That's when low sodium or no salt added versions start being worth the slightly higher price. Choosing a better product from the start reduces the need to rinse it later, and the liquid in the can doesn't always need to go down the drain. Depending on the sodium level and the dish, keeping some of it can thicken soups or stews without adding more water. Number 9 is iodized salt and a small set of basic seasonings. There's still rice on the shelf, there are still beans and pasta, but on the third day of eating all of them with nothing else, the same color, the same smell, the same taste at every meal, people start leaving food behind. Not because they're full, because every meal is identical to the one before. Monotony doesn't empty a pantry all at once. It slowly makes the food supply harder to use the way you planned. That's why salt and a small selection of seasonings punch far above their weight. Start with iodized salt specifically, not just any salt. Iodized salt contains added iodine, a nutrient that supports thyroid function. Many specialty salts, sea salts, and kosher salts do not contain iodine unless the label says so. Don't assume all salt does the same thing. If your family relies on salt as an iodine source, look for the word iodized on the package. But salt alone doesn't create variety. You don't need 30 spice jars. A focused set covering black pepper, garlic powder, paprika, dried herbs, and a few flavor bases like bouillon or soy sauce can pull the same group of staple foods in many different directions. Paprika gives rice and beans a smoky lift. Bouillon turns noodles and a bit of canned chicken into actual soup. Garlic powder and dried herbs change the character of mashed potatoes without requiring anything perishable. Watch the sodium carefully though. Salt, bouillon, and soy sauce together can add up fast. Read labels, season in stages, and choose reduced sodium options where you can. Store seasonings sealed, away from heat and moisture, and rotate them through regular cooking. Their aroma fades over time, and a seasoning that's lost its smell has mostly lost its value. Number 8 is cooking oil. A pantry full of rice, pasta, and beans can still be missing one of the most calorie-dense items a backup food supply needs: fat. A single tablespoon of most cooking oils provides around 120 calories. That's a meaningful energy increase without adding another can or opening another bag. It doesn't make the bowl look larger, but it makes the meal significantly more substantial in terms of what the body actually gets from it. A small amount of oil stirred into rice or pasta after cooking makes the texture less dry and easier to finish. When fuel is scarce, a quick sauté with just a little oil can bring together a small amount of remaining ingredients. Combined with vinegar and seasonings, it becomes a simple dressing for pantry staples. Fat also helps the body absorb certain vitamins from other foods in the same meal, which matters when variety is already limited. The weakness with oil is one most people don't notice until it's already a problem. Oil oxidizes. Heat, light, and air all speed that process up. A bottle sitting near the stove loses quality much faster than one stored sealed in a cool, dark place. When oil starts to go bad, the smell changes first. It might smell like paint, like old crayons, or carry a heavy, stale greasiness. The flavor becomes...
Don't keep using it just because there's still a significant amount left. For smaller households, a smaller bottle is often more practical than an oversized one. You open it, use it up, and replace it rather than leaving a large amount exposed to air for months. Write the month you opened it directly on the label. Keep the cap sealed tightly. Store it away from sunlight and heat sources. Rotate consistently. New bottles go to the back, the older one gets used first. Among all the large bags and heavy
cans in a backup pantry, the small bottle of oil beside them may actually be the most concentrated source of energy there. Number 7 is dried noodles or pasta. A can of soup on its own might feed one person. Add the right amount of water or broth, cook in a handful of noodles, and the pot changes. It gets thicker, there's more of it, and it starts to be enough to divide between several bowls instead of just one. Noodles don't just fill people up, they turn something too small to call a meal into something that can actually be shared. A standard 2-ounce dry serving of pasta provides close to 200 calories depending on the product. A relatively small amount can make a pot of broth or a thin soup substantially more filling. But noodles come with a dependency that's easy to forget. Every box on the shelf is quietly reserving some of your water supply and fuel. They stretch portions, but they don't create water. If the pantry has 12 boxes of pasta and the water supply is only enough for drinking, the plan is still incomplete. Think in complete sets when stocking pasta. Noodles paired with a protein source, a small amount of fat, some seasoning, and enough stored water to actually cook them. Shape and texture are worth considering too, especially for older adults. Some pasta types can be cooked soft and cut into smaller pieces for easier eating. If saving fuel is a priority, check the cooking time on the package rather than just the thickness of the noodle. A type your family has already eaten with a short-listed cook time is worth more than an unfamiliar product you've never actually used. After opening, transfer the remainder into a sealed container to protect it from moisture and insects. If noodles show any sign of mold, sticking together in unusual clumps, strange smell, or visible insects, they go out, regardless of what the date on the box says. Number 6 is white rice. A large bag of rice makes a pantry feel stocked, but the weight on that bag doesn't tell you how many meals your family actually has. White rice can be measured dry, divided into consistent portions, and paired with almost any protein or vegetable. The bag becomes a number of actual planned meals rather than just a pile of food. On many long-grain white rice labels, a quarter cup dry equals roughly 1 serving, yielding about 3/4 of a cup cooked and close to 150 calories. 1 cup dry works out to roughly 4 servings by that standard. But portions vary between products and families, so find the amount your household actually uses for one meal and use that as your planning unit. There's a water calculation that gets missed constantly. Cooked rice needs more than just the rice. There is no universal ratio, but many products call for approximately 1.5 cups of water per cup of dry rice. Some require more. Always read the directions for the exact product you're storing and calculate the water needed per meal at the same time as you calculate the rice. Keep a dedicated measuring cup in the rice container. Measure consistently. Don't pour in extra just because the pot has space. This matters especially without safe refrigeration, because oversized batches create leftovers that can't be kept for the next meal. Store rice sealed in a clean, dry container, keep older stock moving through regular meals, and discard any rice showing insects, unusual smell, moisture, or mold. A pantry that knows how much dry rice and water each meal requires tells you how long the supply actually lasts. The bag weight alone tells you very little. Number 5 is dried lentils. A propane tank isn't measured in number of meals, it's measured in minutes of flame. When fuel becomes something you count rather than something you assume, not all dry ingredients have equal value. Whole dried beans often need overnight soaking and extended cooking time before they're edible. Lentils work differently. They skip the soaking step entirely and cook significantly faster than most other legumes. That makes lentils the next layer of dry protein after canned beans run out. Canned beans save fuel in the first days when resources are most critical. Lentils extend your protein supply into the longer stretch, when cans are gone but cooking conditions have stabilized slightly. Even among lentils, the differences matter. Red lentils break down quickly during cooking, making them ideal for thick soups, stews, or any dish where a soft, blended texture works. They cook faster than other varieties. Green and brown lentils hold their shape better once cooked, which works well when you want more distinct texture, though they generally take a bit longer. Nutritionally, lentils deliver plant protein, fiber, iron, and folate. They combine well with rice, canned tomatoes, or bouillon to make a complete pot of food without many ingredients. Their biggest structural advantage over canned beans is density. No water is packed with them, so more servings fit in the same storage space, and they're far easier to carry if you have to move. But that compact size comes with a condition. You must provide the water water for cooking, and older lentils can take longer to soften than fresh stock. Dry goods still need rotation. A practical two-layer approach works well here. Canned beans for the first several days when saving water and fuel is the priority. Lentils for the later stage when you need dry protein that's lighter, more compact, and cooks in a reasonable window. In a limited kitchen, cooking time is a resource too. Number 4 is instant mashed potatoes. Fuel is almost gone. You've already heated water for something else. There's still hot water in the kettle. If the ratio on the package matches what's left, that water can produce a bowl of mashed potatoes in a matter of minutes without turning on the stove a second time. No peeling, no cutting, no waiting for whole potatoes to slowly soften in a pot. The heat you already created becomes the meal. That's the specific role instant potato flakes play in a backup pantry. They don't provide protein. They aren't a complete meal. Their value is turning already heated water into a soft, filling base without burning more fuel to get there. They also work as an ingredient, not just a side dish. Add canned chicken or fish on top and you have a complete plate. Mix in beans for added protein and fiber. Stir a small amount of flakes into soup that's too thin and it thickens without additional cook time. A little oil and seasoning transforms the texture and flavor without requiring anything perishable. But don't assume every product works the same way. Plain potato flakes typically need only hot water. Pre-seasoned varieties may require milk, butter, or a different water ratio. Read the preparation directions before an emergency happens. Know how much water each serving needs, how hot that water must be, and whether the product depends on any ingredients you haven't stocked. This prevents the problem of opening a box in a crisis and discovering it needs something you don't have. Plain flakes are almost always more flexible than pre-mixed packets because you control what goes in. Batch size matters here too. Without safe refrigeration, prepare only what will be eaten in one sitting. After opening the package, transfer remaining dried mushrooms to a sealed container stored cool, dark, and dry. Discard any that show mold, unusual softness, a sour smell, or visible insects.
And only ever use commercially packaged products with clear sourcing and preparation instructions on the label. Never attempt to use foraged wild mushrooms without genuine and verified identification expertise. Number 2 is whole egg powder. When the refrigerator stops running and fresh eggs are no longer safely available, what disappears isn't just scrambled eggs in the morning. It's the ingredient that gives pancakes structure, that helps bind certain mixtures, and that appears in more familiar recipes than most people realize until it's gone. Whole egg powder doesn't preserve the egg. It preserves all the cooking possibilities that disappear along with it. Whole egg powder contains both the yolk and white in dry form. Reconstituted according to the package directions, it can be used for scrambled eggs, pancakes, and recipes that call for whole eggs as a binding or structural element. Its biggest practical advantage is portion control. Instead of cracking 1 egg per serving, you measure the powder and water according to the ratio on the package, which lets you prepare exactly what you need without waste. This matters when ingredients are limited and leftovers can't be stored. There are rules about using it that are easy to overlook. Mix only the amount you'll use immediately. Once hydrated, it behaves like fresh egg and should be cooked right away according to the manufacturer's directions. Don't treat reconstituted egg powder as something that can sit. Only consider the dry product shelf-stable when the package is sealed and the label explicitly says so. After opening, follow the storage temperature and use-by guidance on the specific product rather than applying a generic rule. Whole egg powder is also not the same as egg white powder, and the two are not interchangeable. Whole egg powder contains both yolk and white, making it suitable for replacing whole eggs in recipes. Egg white powder contains only the white, which changes texture, flavor, and how it functions in cooking. This product is not appropriate for anyone with an egg allergy. Before buying a significant quantity, mix a small batch, cook it according to the directions, and actually taste it. Try scrambled eggs, try pancakes, see whether it works for your household. The value isn't in perfectly replicating a fresh egg. The value is in keeping familiar meals on the table when the carton in the refrigerator is no longer a reliable option. Number 1 is portioned freeze-dried meals. Some days the problem isn't that the food has run out. There's still rice, there are still beans, there are still seasonings sitting in the cabinet, but there's no longer enough energy, time, or functioning conditions to combine all of them into a real meal. That's the specific situation where portioned freeze-dried meals justify their place in the pantry. And their greatest value isn't the shelf life, although that is substantial. It's the number of decisions and steps that are already done before you open the package. Most products are fully combined before packaging. The label tells you the calories, the protein content, the number of servings, how much water to add, and how long to wait before eating. You don't have to pair a starch with a protein source yourself. You don't have to calculate seasoning or decide how much oil to add. You don't have to stand in front of the pantry exhausted and figure out what to cook from components. That's especially important during a power outage, an evacuation, or in any situation where someone in the household is too fatigued to manage a multi-stage cooking process. Because most of the moisture has been removed in processing, these packages are also significantly lighter than most canned alternatives and easier to carry. But 2 servings on the label doesn't automatically mean the package feeds 2 adults for 1 meal. Check the total calorie count for the entire package, the protein per serving, and the actual serving size before deciding how many packages you need. The convenience also depends completely on having clean water. Use the exact amount of water and the exact method listed on the packaging. Not every product is designed for boiling water poured directly into the pouch. If an oxygen absorber is included, remove it as directed before adding water. Once rehydrated, the food no longer carries the shelf stability advantage it had when dry. Prepare only what will be consumed. Check sodium levels before buying because some packaged meals carry a significant salt load. Don't stock based on advertising. Purchase a few individual packages first, eat them, and evaluate the flavor, texture, and actual portion size for your household. Freeze-dried meals don't replace the rest of the pantry. They're the final backup layer. When energy, time, and cooking conditions all decline at once, the most useful meal is sometimes the one that removes most of the work before you even open the packet.
Now step back and look at the full picture. A well-prepared food supply isn't measured by the number of bags and cans on the shelf. It's measured by the number of different problems that supply can actually solve. Some foods provide protein with no refrigeration required. Some stretch small portions into complete meals. Some save water or fuel or the time and effort needed to cook. And some exist specifically for the days when you don't have the capacity to manage a multi-step process. You don't need to rebuild your entire pantry in one shopping trip. Start with foods your family already eats. Pay attention to can and package sizes that match your household. Read labels before you buy. And rotate everything through regular meals so nothing sits forgotten until it's past its useful window. A crisis is not the moment to discover that no one in the household will actually eat what you bought by the case. Look at your pantry right now. Of these 12, which ones are already there, and which one would be missing exactly when you needed it most? If this helped you think differently about what's actually on those shelves, give it a like and share it with someone who would find it useful. This is my channel, and there's more content like this that could change how you think about preparation before the moment it counts.